going on, everybody? We're out here in another edition of Mechanicin and Trucks and Stuff with Dad. Hi, Dad.
Hey.
And they got this golf cart not very long ago, and he's got this cool little lift kit for it. So we're going to set up a cover over it to be in the shade and see what it takes to lift a golf cart. I bet you can't wait to find out. Now we got it all covered, and our jack stands around. Careful! Now we just got to figure out, where do you jack up a golf cart from?
How does this come on?
So we got to remove our bumper and lift the front end. I guess we're starting at the front.
Yeah.
Take the bumper off, lift the front, and take the wheels off. That was cool.
Yeah, little hubcap.
Yeah, it looks better with the hubcaps. But look how pretty the paint is. Oh shit. Got the bumper off, but the one bolt sheared.
Did it? Yeah, I bet we're going to have that jack out one of these days.
Now we're on to our next part. We're removing the top shock bolts on each side. Now the two top shock mount bolts are loose.
That's those. Next, we remove the A-arm mounting bolts and lower A-arms.
Alright, so we've been struggling at this for a minute, but you see we got somewhere. These front bolts, they came right out, the nuts came off, and the bolts pulled out of these bushings. But the back bushing, the bolts were like welded to the rubber, and no matter what you do, the rubber just spun, and as hard as you could hit it, it wasn't coming out. But we just found the trick. We got one of our old, would they come out of the 350?
Chevrolet.
Yeah, the 350 Chevrolet push rods. And they were the perfect size to slide through. See the other side? They're the perfect size to slide through that bushing hole and get to the stuck one on the back side there, because it is not coming out. Now you guys can watch us hit this one. Now we got the other side down. It doesn't look better yet. Now we're moving on to the next part. This is a shock riser. Well, I guess it should be called a shock lowerer. And then right up here, see, that's where the other shock mounted. This is gonna go like so. So it looks like next thing we got to do in the instructions is drill out that hole there. Now we're moving over to putting these drop down brackets on this front end. See, right up here, that's where the A-arms went to before. Now we're going to have these up here, just like there. That's better. Now we got the front ones bolted up and the back ones. The only difference back here, see, we got a little spacer in here. The spacer slid over the bolt. Other than that, the front and the back are the same here. More flat, more bent. More bent, more flat. Just like in the instructions. So now we've moved back over here to where we were just drilling that hole. We've got this shock riser mount bolted in, and it also has this, yes, see it? There you go. It also has this piece of metal here that like hooks over the other side like a big beefy washer, I reckon. And now we've got that bolted up, and we'll move to the other side and do the same thing where we drill the hole and bolt that one on, and then we'll come back here. So now I think we're time to move on to picking up our old A-arm and shock and putting it back in place in our lower shock riser and over here. And we do the other side. Now we got both of the A-arms back on and the shocks mounted again, and all the shiny new hardware in. What do you think, Muffin? Now we'll move on to the next step. Can you tell? Yeah, I think 4 inches is enough.
That's going to clear everything in the woods.
All the kids these days would love it. It's got the pre-runner, trophy truck, whatever they call it, where they lift the front end up and look at the sky while they're driving. That's what all the kids do these days. They'd love this golf cart right now. About the fan noise, but it's like 105. Purple, green, good. Now we got the wheels off, it's time to put a floor jack underneath the drive unit here, and we need to take our shock bolts loose and we can lower it down. There you go. Yeah, we ain't learned yet, have we?
Look, this is hot.
Really hot. Everything out there.
Hot.
Yeah. Now you remove this access cover here to get to your upper shock mounts. Make sure you use WD-40 or you'll break bolts off like I did. We take the top bolt loose here and there, and then now we're ready to drop down the drive unit. So we're going to lower that drive unit down, and all this will fall down low enough to put our, what are these called? Shock risers, I guess?
Shock riser.
Yeah, these are going to go on top of where the shock's mounted.
How's it look when we come in?
Remove the stabilizer bolt, driver's side.
Driver's side.
So before we go dropping this down, we need to take this bolt loose. It's that driver's side. And then I think we've got another part that goes here to drop this down. So now we'll unbolt this stabilizer link real quick, and that's two 17mm bolts. So we'll get my 17 and my 17 and just crank on it. Yeah. Oh yeah. Got the freezer pop brake. We're almost there. Can y'all see it? Now that we've got that drive unit lowered far enough, the shock clears our shock riser. we can work on getting this shock riser bolted to where the shock used to mount. There we go. Now we've got our risers all bolted in, and we picked up the lower assembly there to line up to the holes, and then we bolted in the shocks. See the old shocks? The old shock 4 inches lower than where it used to be. Now it's time to come over this way, and we have a drop bracket for here. There we go. So that'll bolt up there, and then the linkage will bolt back down to the bottom hole. Now we've got our drop mount for this linkage here. You had to hold this up. This lower bolt was already here, but then you had to line up and drill this second bolt, and then you can mount this up and then bolt that linkage back to it. You see how we're all dropped down and this linkage is still sitting flat, and if it was up here it'd be up at a hard angle and probably causing this like tray back here to be not center. So that's why that had to drop down. Woo, she's lifted now. Hitch is still down low.